I got one more, Mike, and we don't have to labor the point too much. I think it's just really been a very entertaining saga to watch over the course of the last, call it a year. The Aaron Rodgers thing on Pat McAfee just is getting out of hand. Like, he's entertaining, and everyone knows at this point, Aaron's like your 80-year-old grandpa that just like sits at the back of the party and says outlandish, outrageous things. And some may be true, some may not be true, but you're just like, what? What's wrong with you? Dude. Right? And now it's got to the point where like him and the Saturday Night Live guy, Jimmy Kimmel Night Show.
No,
who
it's
is
the
it?
no.
It's
He's he was Man Show with Adam Carolla in the '90s, and he's doing
the Late Show.
The
Sorry,
Jimmy Kimmel Show. Yeah.
I don't watch any of that nonsense. Him and Jimmy Kimmel are at war over Epstein Island. Just how absurd is that statement that I just said?
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers
on ESPN,
starting quarterback for the Jets. Kimmel, late night talk show host, are at war over Epstein's Island on Pat McAfee ESPN show. What is happening?
Dude,
like, it's just the most absurd thing to follow. And like once Kimmel clapped back, because like everyone kind of agreed, like, oh, Aaron just says things, right? He calls Kelsey Mr. Pfizer, and he hates Big Pharma and all that stuff. But as soon as Kimmel clapped back, I was like, uh-oh. Like, Aaron's not just going to take this laying down. Like, Aaron's not just going to like, oh,
he's too big of a narcissist to just let something go or ever admit that he was wrong about it. Have you ever heard Aaron Rodgers admit that he was wrong about something?
This is going to get ugly. It's going to get so bad. And
the best is, imagine like, so Jay and I are having a war on the podcast, and I say, you know what? Jay's going to be pretty nervous because I heard he was on Epstein Island or whatever, right? And Jay comes back vehemently and says, I will sue you. That is a clear smearing of my name. I will sue you. And then I come back narcissistically and say, I wouldn't have said it without some evidence.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, cryptic, like, what is he doing? And then he's
apparently Aaron's got the in with the government on these Epstein lists. I mean,
Aaron's got the in with
Aaron's
got
a guy.
Things, apparently.
He's got a guy.
You know what Aaron has? Aaron has a YouTube channel that he probably sits and watches all day, conspiracy theories and whatever. He's like,
for sure.
Else.
Well, the problem is too, and McAfee is now fighting his executive. So like, there's a massive war being started on McAfee's show, and you're like, wait a minute, he's fighting him, and he's fighting Jimmy Kimmel. Why is he fighting? It's a great point. Why are you fighting Jimmy Kimmel? Dude, like, what are you doing? Jimmy Kimmel, what are you even? Dude, stop it. You're right. You've got an NFL football player and a talk show host fighting about something that is like, and it's being brought into. Could you imagine being in that locker room? Oh my God.
Then Aaron gets up at the podium for the exit interview with the Jets, and with a straight face says, the biggest thing here is, anything that doesn't have to do with winning, we got to get that shit out of the locker room right now. It's like,
or your weekly updates with Pat McAfee. Like, I mean,
this is why current players shouldn't do podcasts.
I think Pat's paying him a small fortune.
Oh,
like
he's paying figures.
Yeah, I think Pat's paying him a small fortune to come on, because I mean, the amount of clicks and likes and stuff that he generates from having Aaron Rodgers on, and then having Grandpa Rodgers say outlandish things, like
in his wine room.
Yeah. I mean, it is absurd. It is absolutely absurd. And I'm not picking a side here. I just the popcorn and watching it, and then like to have come right around and McAfee being like, ESPN is sabotaging me. It's like, dude, didn't we see this movie before with Barstool? Like, didn't this exact same thing happen with Barstool? Like, you felt sabotaged. You felt like, and then Portnoy came out. Like, there's a common denominator here, dude. Like.
But a couple things
you're just kind of outlandish, and I love your show. I think it's great, but you have to understand, like, you're never going to be everyone's acquired taste ever. Like, that's just his nature of his podcast.
But this is the beauty of it. No matter what, this is a huge win for McAfee, because even if this, just like it was for Barstool got one episode. Pardon my take, in a van, basically, right? Got one episode, and then the fallout from the partnership exploding, I think, elevated Barstool to a new level. No matter what, McAfee comes out of this with a bigger audience, more awareness if they cut ties. But if you were ESPN, what were you expecting to happen?
Right.
You're bringing in, and it's this. You're right. It's the same thing as Barstool. It's like, this is a popular young digital show. We need to get more YouTube friendly, right? Let's bring this partnership in. And the danger for ESPN is so McAfee called out this. Is it Norby Williamson, one of the top like
One of the execs.
for 20 years he's been one of their top like shadow executives.
No big deal. Just call like a top guy.
You don't hear Scott Van Pelt and you don't hear some of these other guys. Mike Greenberg. They're not calling this guy out because they are employees of ESPN. Their contract can be terminated, and so can Pat McAfee's. But Pat McAfee, it's a renting and leasing situation.
He's
right?
his own entity.
So if he leaves, he'll get picked up so fast.
He owns all his own IP. He owns all his own IP.
Which is why the O-line committee is going to blow up too, because we own our own IP. So
Damn
next
right.
time when
Put your
ESPN
stamp on
approaches
it.
us, yeah, dude.
Dude, the
just
best.
a
Did you see
freaking
McAfee
crazy-
almost drop an F-bomb on game day?
Oh, did he?
Oh, dude, he hadn't done game day in a while. It was right. I was on, what was it? The week before. It was on the first championship weekend, the Rose Bowl. And he was up there. He's like talking about someone from, I can't remember, Florida State or something. He's like, oh, yeah, that freaking guy. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I haven't been here in a while. Like, I haven't been here in a while.
It's hard,
amazing,
dude.
man.
It is hard.
Yeah, if you're on the Aaron Rodgers Jets front, just from like a football perspective,
Wrap it up, Mac. What do we got?
that first
Put
year
a bow on it.
couldn't have been more of a train wreck, right? Like he tears his Achilles right away. The offensive line is still a mess. It's a circus off the field. You can tell he's now, based on what he said at the podium about we got to clean up anything that doesn't have to do with winning. It's like, well, dude, look in the mirror. But he's clearly pissed about chemistry and distractions and everything else. Is there any way this thing just snaps back into place in year 2? Or is this just destined for a complete and utter train wreck for the Jets? Are they going to bounce back and win 11 games and make a playoff run?
They have the talent to do it. They have the talent. And I think, anytime you put a triggerman back there, if Aaron can recover fully from this Achilles in not 6 weeks, like I think that he'll be fine. I think this team will be competitive. They're too talented to not be competitive all over. And Aaron's too good of a quarterback. I think he probably tones down some of the off-field stuff because he understands, what it is. So I think he probably tones down some of the off-field stuff next year if he's healthy and he's on the field. And I don't think it's a Super Bowl contending team, but I think it's probably a playoff contending team.
Fair.
Okay.
You
picked them to win the Super Bowl earlier in the year, Alex. So be careful now.
They had Aaron Rodgers. What do you want me to do? I was like, dude, I'm all about his great defense. I got Aaron Rodgers. Sounds amazing. Do I want to know what happens in the next 6 months? I sure do before I make a decision. You're in the New York media, and I want to see what happens with this Jimmy Kimmel thing. Dude, I'm just like you. I'm popcorn all day waiting to see what happens. Who's going to go next?
I hope Rodgers crashes a Kimmel episode.
Dude, that would be...
Hey! And just throw something at him from the audience.
buys a ticket. Buys a ticket. I will say, I actually disagree. You said that you think he's going to tone down some of the... I actually think he values the platform more than the actual winning at this point. So
that's interesting.
He's such a narcissist. I mean, literally, I asked you, have you, in 20 years, has he ever admitted that he's wrong about something? Has he ever said, you know what, that was my fault? Everything is always somebody else's fault. Everything is a fight. Everything is a broken relationship. In his life, he has a broken relationship with his parents, with his siblings. He literally doesn't speak to anyone. Every 2 years, he's got a new girlfriend. Broken up, right? It's a trail of narcissistic, broken relationships.
Leo's the same way. Once they're 25, he just kicks them to the curb. So maybe he's just trying to be like Leo. He's trying to be like Leo DiCaprio, baby. Oh, you're 25, honey. Too old. Time to move on.
Leo's going to be... George Clooney has been like that in this town, too. I guess when you got options, I guess you...
The elites, man. The elites.